Hey, hello everyone. Let me check whether you're able to hear me and see the screen or not. Mm, Okay. All right. So let us proceed further. And today is the last day of the trading. We already completed 4 days, and today would be the last day. Towards the end, we will give you a link. You will have to register on that link to be able to get access to the certificate. So having said that, this is a YouTube playlist, and I've already shared, uh, we have already put that on a sticky note. I request you all to click on that, and you know what you have to do, right? You just need to click on subscribe so that you watch all the future videos. Every month, every month, we are going to have some or the other free sessions like this, and you'll be given a lot of learning opportunities. However, for you to ensure that you get notified whenever we have live sessions, you just need to click on subscribe. Number one. Number two, if you go to 360 digit MG and when you go to mind map, in the drop down, you will see Python and R packages. You just need to click on that, and then you would find all the packages. A few of y'all were asking us for the packages on how to simulate the data, because simulation is one of the primary data source techniques which we'll mention there. And look at this, in Python libraries also we shall have data collection related libraries. Okay, that's being prepared, and we will frequently keep updating this. NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, scikit-learn pre-processing, reshape, NumPy, SciPy, graphical representation, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly. You will have a lot of information pertaining to this Python programming. If someone also wants to quickly have a glimpse at this, then R programming is something which I would recommend you guys. So here goes the second link. Yeah, welcome to the last day of the session. Yeah, please make a bookmark of the link that I've shared. Please make a bookmark of that. Okay, all you need to do is go to 360 digit MG, and even if you forget that link, you'll have mind map here. Make best use of that. The next thing is, if you want the YouTube link, you click on that. If you want LinkedIn, you click on that LinkedIn here. This is LinkedIn. The reason why I request and recommend people to follow us is because we keep posting interesting stuff like mind map. Even if you forget, we will serve as a reminder. There are a lot of free sessions on big data, Spark, machine learning, a lot of interesting articles on how delivery robots, robot startups are trying to deal with the pandemic. And here are the quizzes, right? These are all practice questions. These will ensure that you also understand the concepts well. So feel free to follow us. Okay. And yeah, it's there here on our page. You just click on that. And the next thing is you also have Facebook. I strongly recommend that you follow here also, because here also we keep posting a lot of interesting things about job openings and opportunities as well. Okay. All you need to do is click on follow here and look at what kind of posts we are doing. So welcome to the new world of learning, friends. and we are launching a book, digital book, and we are launching the digital book. We are going to launch that, okay, on 15th of August. To get access to that book, you will have to, you know, be active on our social media forums such as, uh, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And a few of y'all were asking me for my personal LinkedIn account so that you connect with me and ask questions. I've already done this, but for your benefit, I'm for one last time posting this as well. Okay? And let us get started now. So we have been using Spider. And why do I need to use Spider? Can I not use Jupyter? Can I not use PyCharm? Can I not use some other development environment? Of course you can. Spider is something that I keep using, and that is the reason why I'm continuing to use this. Okay. All right. Where do we get started? We need to get started with Pandas. There are a few libraries which are extremely important for you when it comes to machine learning and data science and deep learning. I am going to briefly speak about those libraries. First thing is NumPy. NumPy is for numerical calculations. Then you have SciPy, which is used for scientific calculations. Then you have Pandas, which is used for data manipulation purposes. Then you have scikit-learn, which is used for machine learning purposes. You have NumPy, SciPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, which is also called as sklearn. Then you have Matplotlib. Matplotlib is a library which is used for data visualization purpose. Then you have something else which is called as Seaborn. Seaborn is kind of advanced data visualization short form viz, that's how they write it. Okay, and then we also have stats models, which is used for statistical analysis. Okay, and these are all on one side, and on another side you have deep learning libraries. Within the deep learning libraries, the first thing is TensorFlow. Second one is Keras. And the third thing is PyTorch. So you have TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch. Of course, there are a lot of other deep learning libraries, but these three are predominantly ruling the world. And deep learning libraries are used to use neural network algorithms. And these neural network algorithms are majorly used in building AI applications. Artificial intelligence applications are built using AI. to a great extent. Then, so yeah, hopefully you got a slight gist about what each of the libraries do. If you can focus on these libraries, then do you know what? If you want to pursue your career on data science or machine learning or deep learning and AI, artificial intelligence, it'll be very easy. And for industrial IoT, also people use Python to a great extent. So Python has its presence in all the emerging technologies also. All right. So why are we importing pandas as PD, right? As I've told you, if you do not use this, still it works. Still it works. However, wherever you have certain functions which are part of this library, you have to give the complete name. For example, data frame is a function which is part of pandas. And how do you type it? You say pandas dot data frame. Okay, pandas dot data frame. But if you were to always give this lengthy, word, then it would be tedious. Hence, people use shortcuts and they import pandas as, you can also import that as ABC. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we are just importing it as PD because it's kind of similar to the word that we have, P and D, pandas. Okay, and same is the case with NumPy also. So I'm importing pandas, which is used to deal with the data. For example, if you want to load any data set into Python, or if you want to make certain changes to the data set, then you tend to use pandas. We also have something called as NumPy, which is used for numerical calculations. So you import NumPy as NP. Why did we import? Because there will be certain functions within these libraries which we'll have to use somewhere. Okay, I'll explain as in how we move forward. Say there is x1. You're creating a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then you're assigning it to an object called x1. So if you see here, x1 is a list with 5 elements in it. Then you have 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, another 5 numbers, and you're assigning these to an object called x2. So x2 is a list with another 5 numbers. And you have x3, which has a range of 5 numbers. Okay, when you say range of 5, it will show you the 5, and you're creating those numbers into a list. If I were to select only this range of 5 and run it, it's going to print numbers from 0 until 5. And if you create a list of that and assign it to x3, and x3 contains, I selected x3 and I clicked on run. x3 shows 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you know very well that within Python, the last value is ignored and the indexing starts from 0. So if you say range of 5, it will not be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you have 5 numbers. Okay, next. You can take all these 3. I mean, you can directly give the numbers and assign it to x1, or you can create a list of these numbers and assign it to an object, doesn't matter. And then what you're doing is you are creating a data frame, and you're having columns x1, x2, x3, and you're converting that into a data frame, and you're assigning it to an object called x. Here we go, x. Okay. If you look at x, if I were to double click, it has x1, x2, and x3. Okay, so you just created the columns. You can actually populate these numbers also in that. Okay, that's one thing. And yeah, there are many ways of populating and all that. Yeah, we'll get there slowly and steadily. Now, if you were to read any file, you can use pandas, because pandas is all about dealing with your data sets. So pandas.read underscore CSV, and within the brackets, you need to give the complete path, including the name of the file and the extension of the file. And remember one thing, whenever you use Windows default path, for instance, I'll go here, I will say get into this and copy this just to explain you all on how it works. Okay. Now here, if you look at the default path, it has a single backslash. If you give a single backslash here and run it, it will throw an error. For example, I can just say, okay, C drive users. Mhm. Then I'll just remove these. Yeah. If I were to run this, and if I assume that I'm going to read this file, education.csv, which is stored in this location, and using this assignment operator equal to sign, I'm assigning it to an object called education. If I run this, it will throw an error. This is Python's way of scolding you, shouting at you. Hey, you don't know the syntax, right? So that's a syntax error. Python says that, okay, you have to remove these backslashes and give a forward slash. Wherever you have a backslash, remove it and replace it with a forward slash and run it. There is no error. It worked. Or if you're hell bent upon using the backslash, you need to give double backslash. But the default Windows path will not work. And you're assigning it to an object called education. Now, if you say type of education, it should be a data frame. Okay, so, and then if you say print the type, there we go. It says pandas data frame. What is a data frame? Like you have your photo frame. What do you do in your photo frame? You put your photos. Okay. Sorry for my artwork, but okay. Sorry for my artwork, but say this is your photo or my face, whatever you want to call. In a photo frame, you put that. In a data frame, you put the data. Simple. In photo frame, you put photo. In data frame, you put data. That's it. And the only thing is, if you have the data in the data frame format, you can just open that. You can look at the various columns which exist. There are 3 columns which you have. And you know indexing, this is index number 0, means column number 0. This is column number 1, and this is column number 2. And indexing starts from 0, so you have 0, 1, 2, 3 in that way. You have 773 rows, and you have 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. This is a data frame. And now I'll erase these. Here we have work experience. This is the data of a specific B school. Okay. The college from which I graduated, Indian School of Business. Okay. And we have work experience in number of months. You need to understand the data, okay, before you analyze it. And then you have the GMAT score. GMAT score is, I mean, the maximum score that one can get is 800. Out of 800, how many points, how many marks each of the student got? And this is just the serial number. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't make sense. Okay. So let me close it. All right. Then if you say education.shape, you want to see, say, the shape of your data frame. I'll just click on this and run it. Yeah. The shape is 773 rows and 3 columns. If you say education.head, it will show you the first 5 rows of your data set. When you say education.index location of 1, so this is the index location 0, this is 1, and this is 2. Index location of 1 dot values, you want to take all the values and count those values. So if I were to count the values, look at that. Okay. So you have index location 1. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Okay, let me see. Say you have education here, which is here. Dot index location, I for index. Let me write it here. Index location. My bad. What was I thinking? My bad. Okay. Index location is 0. Sorry, 1. Means what it does is this is index location 0 and this is index location 1. Sorry again. Okay. So index location means it is going to this education. Index location is 0 here and index location is 1. And index location 1 is for your columns because you have 3 columns and you have 773 rows. My bad. Okay. Dot value underscore count. So what it does is it will look at each and every column that you have and it is going to display how much count you have. For example, work experience is 107, GMAT score is 640. In that way, it is giving you the count of the values. Okay, number of unique entries kind of. Now, when you say education.describe, it will do an amazing thing for you wherein it will now count. These are the unique entries that it counted. Here, what it does is it will count the total number of entries. So you have 773 rows, 773 work experience values. If I were to open this, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you keep counting, you'll have 773 values for data serial number. You'll have 773 values entries for work experience, and you'll have 773 entries for GMAT. Okay, and what is the average? I mean, data serial number doesn't make sense. 1, 2, 3. What is the mean or average work experience? What is the average GMAT score? On an average, students get 711 as GMAT score. On an average, people have 57 months of experience. And then what is the minimum work experience, maximum work experience? What is the minimum GMAT score, maximum? So on and so forth. Of course, there are a lot of other things, but then we will not be able to discuss all of those. Yeah, fine. Then we have something called as Matplotlib. Matplotlib is a data visualization library. Within that, most widely used module is pyplot, and you're importing this as PLT. As I have told you, you can, you know, import this and call it in the way you want. You can use any of the shortcuts. You can even say ABC instead of PLT or XYZ. The only thing is, wherever you use PLT, you have to use ABC or XYZ. It's a shortcut. That's it. Okay. So you're saying that plt.hist stands for histogram. But I think even before that, it really makes sense for me to explain about the bar plot. Why? I'll let you know. If I were to run a bar plot, and what am I saying here? Height of each bar should be GMAT score. And where is this GMAT score value? It is there in education. Sorry, this I cannot zoom it unfortunately, so you'll have to live with it. And even if I maximize, this won't zoom. Okay, sorry for that. So within education, you have something called as GMAT. Do you know what? There are two ways of referring to a column within a data frame. One simple way of referring to the columns within this data frame is you just say education, because that is the name of the data frame here, dot work experience, if you want to refer to work experience. Or if you want to refer to GMAT, you say education dot GMAT. Or there is another way to refer to the columns. How do you refer? You just say education. Within the square brackets, you give the name of the column. If you want to refer to GMAT, this is how you refer. Or it can be education of single quotes GMAT. You either give double quotes or you give single quotes. It does not really matter. That's your height of each and every bar. And then on x-axis, you're saying that NumPy, NP, we imported NumPy as NP, numerical calculations, if you remember, dot a range of numbers. You want a range of 773 numbers. So if I were to draw x-axis, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, in that way you'll have until 772 because it starts from 0. So including 0, you have 773 values on x-axis. So you're drawing a bar plot, and plt.bar will draw that bar plot. This function requires two arguments. One is the height, another is your x-axis. And you have plot.show, which will show you the plot. Oops, it says name PLT is not defined. The reason being I have not run this line wherein you import the required package or library. Okay. Now, if I were to run these two lines together, you need not run those two together, but then this is how the bar appears. And let me also open the data set here and the bar plot. Let me place these one beside another. So the first bar that you see here is 720. The second bar that you see is 640, so on and so forth. But then it is very difficult to draw any meaningful insight because you have plotted 773 bars. Okay, it is extremely difficult for you to make any inference or draw any meaningful insight from this kind of visualizations. Hence, people came up with another way of representing the data, because why are we visualizing the data? To draw some meaningful insight. Okay, to draw some meaningful insight, we are, drawing this plot. So here, since the bar plot is not great, we will resort to something called as histogram. plt.hist histogram of education of GMAT. What does this histogram do? This histogram is going to create logical bins. Bins means grouping of values. It will automatically do it for you. Of course, there are a few mathematical ways on how it does. We will not get into how it is calculated, but then we will run and draw some inferences. So plot.histogram of education, go to this education data frame and refer to the column called GMAT. Okay, and then display that. So let me run it. There we go. So in between 600 to whatever bit, you have certain number of values. 600 to maybe 620, 620 to 640, 640 to 660, in that way. Okay, and you know for a fact that majority of the people have their GMAT score in this space, maybe 700 to 720. Majority of the people lie in that space. This is far better because you are able to draw at least a few inferences. Okay, you are able to draw at least a few inferences basically. Okay, number of bins and bin calculation is done based on certain logic. We'll not get into that for now. All right. Then one more insight that you can draw is the number of students who are applying for this B school are very less. I mean, probably less than 50. If the score is less than 675. And the people whose score is maybe in excess of 750, the number of people who are applying for this B school is also very less. So maybe as a dean of the university, you might want to give these students some scholarship. And maybe these are the kind of people who might be sports personalities, doctors, research scholars. You want these kind of people to be there in your class because they add a lot of value. Okay, they add humongous value to your classroom diversity. Okay, these kind of insights can be drawn. Next, you have something called as box plot. Okay, to explain this, I need to explain you about something called as outlier. This is all data analysis. Okay, all these things that we are doing now is also called as exploratory data analysis. Exploratory data analysis. I'm just giving you an overview here, but then we have a data science training wherein we train you for 184 hours. 184 hours versus we are learning for only 5 hours. There is a difference, right? So this exploratory data analysis is part of that. So this is for our data science using Python and R training. Okay. Now outliers. If you have numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, If you simply calculate average or mean of these numbers, how do you do that? You can calculate average or mean by adding all these numbers and then you divide it by the total count. So when you do that, you get mean as 3. Okay. Say I'll take the same numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, but instead of 5, if I were to put 700, then if I take an average of these numbers, we get 142, which is a very big number. Okay, the number is extremely big. This is because average has changed completely because of this number, which is very big. A number which is very big than the rest or very, very small in comparison to the rest of the numbers are called as outliers or extreme values. They are called as outliers or extreme values. If you have only 5 numbers, you can just eyeball it. When I say eyeball, you just look at it and say that, hey, this is an outlier. However, what if I give you a million records? What if I were to give you a million records? And then would you be able to manually look at each and every number and then determine which of these are outliers? Not possible. Very challenging, right? If you have a million records. Hence, when you have huge number of rows, there has to be some other way of identifying outliers. And the best way to identify outliers is using box plot, which is a data visualization tool. So here I'm saying this is also box plot is also part of Matplotlib. Since we have imported as a shortcut, we are taking that dot box plot education of GMAT. Okay, and you're giving a label to the x-axis. Sorry, y-axis. You're giving a label to y-axis, and you're saying plot dot show. And here we go. So you have a box plot here, which is appearing like this. And any values which fall below this or above this would be outliers. So you have outliers here. You can do a lot of changes to this box plot. I'm not going to get into the depth of the box plot because it's part of our data science training, etc. Also on the YouTube channel, which we have, you can find explanations. There is something called as, let me point you guys to that, just in case you are interested. Let me go to the playlist. And yeah, this one, data science using R. There is a detailed explanation, but then again, this is for, I think, 20 hours. But our data science training is for 184 hours. And if someone wants to enroll for data science plus AI professional certification program, which will give you IBM certificate and University Technology Malaysia, which is globally ranked in 187th position, then you need to go with this professional certification training, which has 300 hours of training. Out of that, just a glimpse is given here, but then good start. It's a good way to get started. All right, back to our discussion. So hence I'm not, spending time on that. There are also variants on how you want to plot your box plot. Here you have education of GMAT, comma, 1. Okay, this 1 is going to put a notch. What do you mean by notch? If you have a box plot like this, it will actually put a notch like that to look like this, just for some beautification purpose. Yeah. And RS stands for red square, red color square. And 0 means instead of plotting your box plot in a vertical manner, it will be plotted in a horizontal manner. That's the meaning of 0. Okay, now if I were to run it, there we go. This RS stands for red square. All right. There is also another data set called as empty cars. There is another data set. I'm importing this data set. How would you import? Pandas. Hey, one more thing, friends. I just gave that space, additional space here. Even if you don't give the space, it works. But giving a space is a best practice. Okay. So we have pandas dot read underscore CSV. And within the double quotes, I'm giving the complete path alongside the name of the data set. Okay, along with the extension, this .csv or dot whatever be the format, that is also important for you. And then you're going to load that into an object called empty cars. And then when you say empty cars dot shape, you have 32 rows and 11 columns. And if you say empty cars dot head, you have the first 5 rows of the dataset. Okay, you'll be able to see the first 5 rows just to get a quick glimpse on how the dataset is, what are the various values of each column, just to get a quick glimpse. Then you have empty cars dot mpg. Right? Within empty cars, you're referring to miles per gallon, and then you're grouping by empty cars dot get. So if you observe here, you are referring to this mileage mpg, and you're referring to this, and we are also referring to gear. Where is the gear? Here. Okay, so empty cars dot mileage dot group by empty cars dot gear. So it will look at gear 4. What is the mileage? Gear 3. What is the mileage? Gear 2. What is the mileage? Or gear 5. What is the mileage corresponding to that? And you want to take all those for different gears. You want to take the mileage and you want to plot. And what plot do you want? You want a line plot. There we go. We have a line plot. One is for a specific number. We have 3 here. We have 5, 4, and 3. For each of those, you have the values listed down. Okay. Then 22.8, where does that? Hold on. Okay. Anyways, so that's the data. You can also represent your data in pie chart format. So all you're doing is you're going to empty cars dataset dot gear dot value underscore counts. It will give you the count of all these values. How many 4, how many 3, and how many 2 or 5 exist. And then you can do a plot. And what kind of a plot do you want? A pie plot. Yeah, it's a pie plot. 3, 5, 4 in that way. Even if you don't have this plot.show, it would anyways show up there. Next, there is also another plot called as area plot. You're taking a mileage. And if I run this, it shows an area plot. These are all the various mileages that you have. Okay. And then we also have a scatter plot. Okay, let me just briefly tell you that we have something called as univariate plots. Univariate plots means if you plot the visualizations for a single variable, it is called as univariate. For example, here when we have done bar plot, you have done bar plot for only GMAT score, one variable. Histogram is done for a single variable called GMAT. Box plot is done for a single variable called GMAT. Hence, these are univariate plots. Bar plot, histogram, box plot, all these are univariate plots. Then you have bivariate plots. When it comes to bivariate plots, okay, you have this plot called as scatter plot. When it comes to scatter plot, you use usually we use two variables. Two variables. Okay, so whenever you plot it, it should be x comma y. So what I shall do is here, just to ensure that there is no confusion, let me take horsepower and mileage. Okay, let me go to empty cars dot hp. Okay, if you look at this, you have horsepower here and you have mileage. So you want to plot this, and when you plot it, the values that you plot, you want them to be in red, orange color. Oh, sorry, red circle. Red circle. Okay, let me run it. There we go. So what kind of insight can I draw from this? What kind of insight can you draw? The insight that you can draw is, okay, on x-axis, it's always plot x comma y. X is your horsepower. So you have horsepower here. And on y-axis, you have mileage, miles per gallon. And then you have red circles. When you look at this plot, you see that in decreasing order. I mean, it's in decreasing order. That means as and how your horsepower increases, what's happening to your mileage? Your mileage is decreasing, right? As and how your horsepower increases, it's in this way, downward direction. That means your mileage is decreasing. If I keep on increasing the horsepower, mileages keep on decreasing. This kind of representation, this kind of correlation is called as negative correlation. Why is it called as negative correlation? Because as and how you increase your horsepower, your mileage is decreasing. If on the contrary, say your data was like this, all the data points were falling in this direction. In this direction, right? So as and how your horsepower increases, your mileage will increase. If your horsepower is increasing and vis-a-vis your mileage is increasing, that means there is a positive correlation. If such a scenario exists, then it is called as positive correlation. Of course, we spend significant amount of time on all these things as part of our data science and AI training. But then, okay, next, there is something called as Seaborn. Import Seaborn as SNS. And when you say sns.boxplot of emptycars.gear, you have all the vehicles with different gears. And if you do a box plot of the empty cars with gear, this is how it appears. That means I don't see any outliers. Okay, that's the box plot thing. You can do a scatter plot. There is another way of doing a scatter plot. Okay, so SNS for certain plots, the Seaborn will give you good results. You can import as anything, friends. If you do SNS dot scatter plot of x comma y, and here hue is equal to cylinder, I'll speak about that, and you want to use the data set which is empty cars data set. So within this data set you have mileage, you have horsepower, and you want the hue as cylinder. So let me go here. So you have first of all mileage, you have horsepower, and you also have cylinder. 4-cylinder vehicle, 6-cylinder vehicle, 8-cylinder vehicle, in that way. So if I were to run it and show you, hue is something related to color. Okay, let me run it. There we go. So there are a lot of color spaces that exist, but out of scope again. For example, you have HSV format, red, green, blue, RGB format, YUV format. There are many color spaces that exist. These are called as color spaces. For computer vision and image processing, this will come in very handy. Okay, and then you have mileage here and you have horsepower, and the hue or the color is based on cylinder. Oh, so you have 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, these gradients which are given. If you have something very bright, that means it's 9-cylinder vehicle. If you have something very light, that means that could be a 3-cylinder vehicle. In that way, you have the data, and the relationship between mileage and horsepower is negatively correlated. You can also do a bar plot. Horsepower, mileage, hue is cylinder, color, and data set, and you want marking on your x-axis, x ticks, and you want to rotate that by 90 degrees. Let me run this and show you on what it exactly does. So if you look at these x-axis values, they are rotated 90 degrees. If you have a number like this, if you rotate it by 90 degrees, it will turn, right? And it will become like this, 52. Okay, if it is 62, for example, like this, if you rotate it by 90 degrees, it becomes 62 in that way. Then you have 4-cylinder vehicle, 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder. That's a color, hue. Okay. Then you also have something called as violin plot. This is also something that you can draw, and if you want, you can make out some inferences on, hey, it looks like a violin, but then what kind of cylinders are major? Majorly, you have a 3-cylinder vehicles. Next best is 4-cylinder, and 5-cylinder is very less. The count here, there are more. Here there are even more. Usually people do not use a violin plot, but then if you want to use, you can. Another thing is paid plot. With this, I'll stop. Okay. Paid plot means if you look at education, for instance, you have serial number, you have work experience, you have GMAT score. Say you want to look at the scatter plot of all the possible pairs, like data serial number, work experience, and data serial number, GMAT score. work experience GMAT score. Say you want all those combinations. Then you simply do pay plot. I run it. This is how it appears. Of course, the serial number doesn't really make sense. But then this is a histogram. This is a histogram. And you have the scatter plot. Scatter plot between GMAT score and work experience is this. I think this is looking very different, but if I take only these points, it's positively correlated. Okay, of course, you can draw a lot of meaningful insights out of the data. Okay, so this takes us to the closure of the Python training. As I've told you, people who feel that, do you know what, I just want to experience data science, you go here, watch this under playlist. Okay, using R. If you want using R, okay, using Python also, it should be there. But then for those people who want a high level glimpse, you can go to playlist and data science life cycle. In 20 minutes, you'll understand the entire thing. If you want to do a deep dive on the various things, then you can go to CrispDM. Okay. And I think Python, we have not made it live, if I'm not mistaken, but then that's also something that we can make live maybe. Okay. All right. So, yep. What are the next steps?
Guys, I think there is some technical difficulty. Just give it a couple minutes. I'm getting in touch with Bharani.
Hey, sorry guys. I just had a glitch. Extremely sorry. Enoch, are you there?
I'm here, Bharani.
Yeah. Can you share your screen and explain about how participants can get certificate?
Sure.
Yep. Yep. Thank you all, friends. Enoch would take it forward. Thank you all. Yeah, sure, sure. We shall do that on the social media. Anjani Kumar. Over to you now.
Thank you, Bharani. So there are a couple of things. The first thing is many of you are asking for the code. So what we have done is we have uploaded the code onto our uh, LinkedIn platform as well as Facebook. So first I'm going to share the link for that. So for those of you who want the code and the data sets, you can get that from the link that I just shared. So please make a note of this link or save it somewhere. And the second thing is the registration certificate, sorry, the link to register for the certificate. So I'm going to share that right now. If you look at your sticky note, there is a link here, and this is the link where you can actually register. So once you click this, it will take you to a page that looks like this. And all you need to do is fill in your information, and within next 5 to 7 days, you will get your certificate to your email. So you will get an email from us. It will have all the instructions on how to download your certificate. So it is very important to register it right here, because if you do not register, we cannot process your certificate. So I'm going to put this here as well. And for those of you who want the code and the data sets, you just have to go to our social media channels and take it from there. So there will be a post, and let me show that as well. So let's say, for example, if you go to our LinkedIn, you will see a post with today's quiz questions. Let's just give it a few seconds to load. All right. So you will see this post and it says day 5 quiz. And right here, you have a link where you can actually download the Python code as well as your datasets. All you need to do is click on this. And this pretty much gives you the ability to download. You will see the files here and all you need to do is just download those files. And the same goes with Facebook as well. Just go to our Facebook page and then you will see a post which says day 5 quiz. And it will also have the same URL and you can download it from there. And you can see this is the drive and you will see that there are 2 files here, 2 datasets, and then you have the Python code as well and all the other rest of the day's code. So once again, the link to the registration is on the sticky note, and please ensure that you register. And for those of you who are watching on the YouTube, there is a link. You should be able to click on the link that I've just posted and register for the certificate. All right. So yeah, with that, thank you so much. I'm just going to see if you have any questions, if there's any questions with regards to certificate. So Abhinesh Kumar, there is the link on the sticky note. You can just take it from there. Dana, quiz is not mandatory, but it's recommended that you do that so you brush up your skills. All right. And many of you are saying that the session was very, very good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share a link where you can leave the review. So if you really enjoyed the session, please leave a review here. And when you give your review, please ensure that you give a detailed review. Please don't give 1 word or 2 word or 1 sentence reviews. Please give it a detailed review. The link should work, Abhishek Chandra. We've tested it with our team and it's all working fine. So if you have any other questions with regards to how to leave a review or how to get the certificate or how to get the code, just ask me in the chat and I'm going to answer that. So Venugopal, the previous videos are all on our YouTube channel. You just need to go subscribe there and you'll find our playlist there. Harshavardhan, you need to follow our Facebook and LinkedIn. And whenever the next webinar comes up, we will post there. So Soyadev, yes, we do. Just message us on our website. We will connect you with someone who will help you with it. So Anjani Kumar, today's code is already updated on our both LinkedIn and Facebook. So Mayuri, we have so many recorded sessions on our YouTube. You can just follow them. And if you want to attend a full-length program, then when you're registering for your certificate, there is an option to select that you are interested and we will get in touch with you. So let me message you the link. And Akhil Aman, we do have a longer course, but it's a paid program and I'm just sharing the link. If you're interested, please register and we will get in touch with you. So certificate will take about 5 to 7 days. So please don't message us in the next 5 to 7 days if you don't see a certificate. Only after 7 days and you still don't get any certificate, then contact me. I will ensure that you get it. All right. All right. Thank you so much. it was pleasure teaching you guys and getting these good responses. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye bye.